everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Live with Liz. This week, we're talking about live streaming and podcasts for lawyers and law firms. But before we dive into that, sometimes I like to mention some things that are going on in the world related to the legal industry and law firms as a business. And the interesting news of the day is that LegalZoom, I don't know if you heard of this or not, some of my international colleagues probably have not heard about this, but LegalZoom filed their initial public offering here in the US to raise a bunch of capital. And I think this kind of underscores some of the things that we've discussed about new law, legal competition, and alternative legal service providers. There are a lot of people out there who have said over and over again to me and in public that LegalZoom is not competition for the law firms. But if this doesn't solidify that they actually are and have a significant market share when it comes to providing legal services in the US, then I'm not sure what will. But we'll see how the IPO goes, right? So it only just went and filed the IPO the other day. So we'll see what happens. And maybe you're right. Maybe it won't pan out the way they hope for, but it will be interesting to see how that develops and this situation evolving. It's not uncommon for law firms in other parts of the world to go public too. It's very rare in the United States. It's not a thing. It's not what you see law firms doing. But in Australia, it's very interesting to me that law firms have gotten together and have gone public. Let's see what happens on LegalZoom. We'll figure it out and see what that means for the market and see if it has any implication on law firm strategy in the future. And now that I have informed you of this fascinating piece of information that you probably already knew, let's talk about live streaming and videos and podcasts for lawyers and law firms. I know a lot of people are considering this. I get asked questions about it all the time. And I think that is largely in part because of how popular it is. And you see more and more of it happening. The pandemic certainly made people consider alternative ways of reaching new audiences and engaging with people. And podcasts and live streaming are options to do that. There are different channels to accomplish different things when you're talking about this kind of media. The biggest differences between live streaming and podcasting is that generally the podcasts are not live. They can be live, but generally a podcast is pre-recorded. So you have a lot of options when it comes to fine-tuning the finished product, when it comes to having someone professionally edit it, making the sound just right. Often the podcasts are not with video, but nowadays a lot of people are mingling these words and saying a podcast and your video cast are the same thing. That's okay with me. It doesn't bother me one way or the other that people might call these things whatever they want. Social media has made this readily available for basically anyone who wants to jump on the bandwagon and become a podcaster or someone who streams live. And when you're streaming live, it's a little bit different, like we are right now. There are some things that I worry about a lot, like technology going wrong. It seems to happen every week, or the lighting not being perfect because I'm not totally professional. I'm an amateur at this. The sound being off, all sorts of little issues that you might have to think about. But when you set yourself up, and it doesn't have to be this fancy, expensive setup to get going, it's really not that difficult. And basically a lot of people are doing it just from their handset, just from their handy dandy little phone. Just, I can go live because I know how to make a TikTok video. And the main goal for you, if you're going to use these as tools to grow your audience and engage with people, is to make sure that you're meeting people where they are and that you know your target audience. And then being able to curate the content that you plan on sharing in a meaningful way that's valuable to them are the ways to make your audience appreciate the content that you're sharing and give them another way to reach you. Video, though, and podcasting have other benefits, even if you're not initially engaging with as many people as you expect or hope to. They give you visibility in the different channels where you already are. So for example, on LinkedIn, once you reach a certain number of of followers and you get this chance, you end up getting a lot more visibility than, say, if if you stick to just posting and you have, sporadic presence online. It's very different. If you're on Facebook, you don't have to wait for anything. If you're on other channels, you don't necessarily have to wait for anything, but there are some rules and there are third-party tools to help you figure those out. And so if you've made the decision to go ahead and do it, the legal issues aside, that's your area of expertise, because of course you want to check with your local bar association to see what regulations or limitations might exist to you utilizing these tools. But once those things are established, then you can really focus on the content that you wish to share and have a plan for how you're going to use that in the future. So the main things that you're going to get out of, hopefully, the effort to put together a podcast or a live stream are to be able to share your knowledge, which when you do so, gives you additional credibility with your audience. And then, of course, the enhanced visibility that we're always after. So sharing your knowledge is a big one. If you go live, sometimes there are some ways that you can capture more people by offering them in advance. You can use them to advertise your practice. You can offer to do a question and answer session. If you're covering a certain practice area or trying to grow a particular legal service that you're offering, these can be excellent ways to introduce them to a new public or a broader public or even your current followers, so that you can really engage with them on another level and make sure that people who already have relationships with you are aware of the different things that you offer. This is also the perfect time to put together something that you can then repurpose. So if you do put together a broadcast or you have a podcast, you can then take little tidbits of that and put them together for other uses in stories on social media and little tidbits of sound if you want to do an advertisement here or there. So there are a lot of different ways that you can utilize the content after you've put it out there. Even once you've live streamed, you can record those and break those up into smaller pieces and share them on your website. You can share them in different settings. The links to them can be shared in different social media posts. So that sort of thing. Now, showcasing your talent should be done very specifically. So this can easily or more easily be accomplished, in my perspective, for the B2C folks who are reaching actual consumers as the end user of their legal services. I mean, the people who are providing services like estate planning and personal injury representation, or even to some extent criminal. It's a little bit more challenging, I find, for the live streaming and certain channels to reach the corporate client or the employees of corporates or other lawyers out there. There is this forum that I turn to pretty frequently on the podcasting side. And I know that not everywhere in the world has this focus on podcasts, but if your target is the United States, I'm not sure if you saw my post, the statistics about podcast usage are astounding. So many people are utilizing them now. So if you haven't visited the Legal Talk Network, this is something that you should see. You can get a lot of inspiration here. You can suck up some content from other lawyers who are already rocking it. If you're worried about, hey, good morning, Mariana. Yeah, it's definitely true. Everybody I know is listening to podcasts, myself included. I really love Hidden Brain. But there are legal podcasts out there that people are paying attention to. And so if you're in the B2B space and doing the corporate side, I would say the podcasts are something to look at, because you find that on the professional level, people who are commuting, if you're spending time in a car, if you're just, on a jog or something, you might listen to a podcast. Whereas if you're consuming a lot of social media as, somebody like me who's just sitting sometimes with kids and worrying about life and just taking a little escape, you can find people directly in places like Facebook or Instagram. If you have a niche, and I've seen a lot of people really rely on a niche and expand their services in a very particular way, this can be profound for you. So are you the guy who represents dads only in divorces in Des Moines? This is maybe a medium that can definitely boost your service awareness and your brand recognition. You'll definitely reach more people when you can focus on what you're offering them. In the B2C space, that can be a little bit more challenging when you're trying to focus on something corporate, but it can still be done. If you're someone who is in litigation and there's some interesting case law that you want to cover, if it's something that's titillating, why not go ahead and do it? Even if it's something that you think, oh, this is going to be boring to so many people, you will find your people. Your people will be out there, and there will be people who benefit from hearing what you have to say if you're an expert in a certain area. I mean, entertainment is also really interesting when it comes to podcasts and video streams. And if you have an entertainment practice, this is something that you might be able to combine to reach new heights. So videos and podcasting are not for everyone. There are certain considerations out there for lawyers and law firms when it comes to putting yourself out there in a specific way. Live streaming comes with additional risks, of course. You expose yourself, but there are also a lot of rewards if you're willing to take on those risks and face the world in this kind of way and embrace the challenge that's before you with all of these new tools. If you have questions about how some of these work, we're always happy to answer them. I work with a couple of different companies that put together podcasts that are much better than I am at this particular service. This is not something that I am an expert at. This is my amateur, hello, welcome to Live with Liz, have a coffee with me every week kind of activity. But because of the success I have found with it, I am certain that you can also find success with it and find a way to make it work for you. And if you put together your podcast and your live stream, I will definitely watch it or listen to it at least one time. Maybe twice. Probably just once. Maybe never. Okay, that's truly honest. So, recap. Live streaming, podcast, the biggest difference. Live streaming, you don't have the preparation for it. It's not pre-recorded. It doesn't have the refined production quality that a podcast has. Podcasts, you really can put some time and effort into making something that's curated and refined and something that people want to listen to. You can have, of course, you can have professionals on either side of this, but on the podcast side, I love to listen to people who are really professional with this, who have the voice to carry the sponsorship and organization of it. There are some people out there who are so good at this. Inspiration, where do you find it? I would start with the Legal Talk Network. They have so many podcasts available in the legal industry, and there are many more that are not on the Legal Talk Network, but certainly there you will find a place that has a lot of people who have already taken this step and put together some fascinating content in a way that is inspiring and that can give you ideas for how it can work for your law firm and your law practice too. So now we know the difference. I just spilled my water on my computer. See the things that can go wrong while you're live streaming? Whoops. Okay, so there are challenges to live streaming like the one that you just saw, but they are wonderful tools for reaching new audiences. You just have to really be aware of where your audience is, prepare the content that you want to share with them, and then go for it. Just don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Just do it. I love that you see the humor in this. That's making me feel good. I better go get a towel now and clean my computer, and hopefully it still works and then we can have Live with Liz again next week. Anyway, questions to solutions@firmforward.com. Please follow me, subscribe to my channels, whatever people say to do at the end of these video streams. And let's connect offline and have some real talks and more coffee time, more Live with Liz, maybe actually live, like live. Talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.